Hello, I'm Surfer Clock, and welcome to What's the Attraction, where our work is your vacation. Today we're going to do something different. Instead of reviewing an attraction or shelling out some top 10 list, we decided to share with you this curious piece of Walt Disney World history. Rather than just tell you about it, we'll read it all the way through. It's Mickey and Goofy Explore the Universe of Energy. First, a little backstory for those of you who haven't listened to our episode about the ride. From 1982 to 2004, the Universe of Energy Pavilion at Epcot was sponsored by Exxon, and later ExxonMobil. For the first decade or so of the attraction's existence, the ride was a pretty straightforward, almost lecture-ish type of ride that was supposed to, shall we say, fuel your interest in energy. It wouldn't be until 1996 when Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Nye the Science Guy would be recruited into revamping the ride, making it into what it is today. But since a large part of the ride, if not all of it, was paid for by Exxon, of course they had to endorse their product, with Disney's child-friendly image, of course. What resulted was this 1985 comic book where Mickey Mouse and Goofy learn about Exxon's wonderful practices of giving us energy, like oil, other stuff, oil, and of course, oil. Now, don't get me wrong, of course energy and how we come about it is important. But I'm not sure pro-oil propaganda should be endorsed by two of Disney's most endearing icons. So, let's dive in, shall we? Now, the cover isn't too bad. The inclusion of the monorail is a nice touch, but what is up with that pink Apatosaurus? Oops, it's the 80s. I mean Brontosaurus. He has a really unnerving look in his eye as he beckons our protagonist inside. Come in, my friends, and you shall see why they're called fossil fuels.
Gee, Goofy, this looks like fun. Let's go in.
Never in my life have I ever seen a sign for Exxon and thought, good times. In fact, I would have more fun at the second incarnation of Journey into Imagination.
Oh, I don't know, Mickey. I have plenty of energy. I had a good breakfast.
But ching.
This isn't a place to eat, Goofy, but it's a great place to learn how we get and use energy. Here at the Universe of Energy, we'll learn about the fuels we use to make our lives better.
Then it would be foolish not to go inside.
Very funny, Goofy. Let's go.
Get used to Goofy's puns, kids. There's plenty more where that came from. I have to extend credit to the illustrators. This part of the comic does resemble the attraction, because I have a feeling that's not going to be the case here soon.
Look up there at all the different sources.
Wow, there's oil, natural gas, coal, hydroelectric, nuclear, and solar power.
Today, oil is the most important energy source for transportation. It supplies our energy needs for cars, planes, trucks, and trains.
Okay, either the artist was trying to make the floor covered in like a pulpy, jagged blue mold on blue popcorn, or he was giving the attendance records way too much credit, and has our Disney friends hover 20 feet in the air over everyone else.
Gee, this subject is getting pretty deep.
How is that deep? Or are you just trying to set up for an awkward joke that's supposed to duel as a segue?
Deep is right. We have to drill deep into the ground to get our oil. Oil is one of the oldest and most valuable resources on Earth.
Have you noticed every sentence in this comic ends in an exclamation point? Are they really that excited over oil in the comic produced by Exxon? I just answered my own question, didn't I?
Over millions of years, our fertile Earth produced enormous amounts of plants and animals. Like all living things, they contain the basic elements carbon and hydrogen.
Since when has Mickey Mouse been a biochemist?
As the years passed, the remains of living things settled to the bottom of lakes, marshes, and oceans and formed layers of sediment. The sediment continued to decompose, and the hydrogen and carbon combined chemically to form hydrocarbon compound.
By the way, don't you love this guy's fashion sense? Red plaid shirt, yellow bow tie, and baseball cap? I know Disney World isn't exactly a Parisian runway, but even the tawdry Walmart, Florida t-shirts have better style than this.
These chemical changes in the Earth eventually formed the oil and natural gas we use today.
Boy, these dinosaurs look like scary critters. I'm glad they aren't around. Ow! Help!
Relax, Goofy.
Okay, a couple of things here. One, why is Goofy so surprised? It's not like the dinosaur jumped out at him. Second, what's up with the panels? Did it start in their imagination, then Goofy's yell shocked it back into reality? Kinda confusing, isn't it? Third, you have to love that Goofy's so scared he yells out the side of his mouth and doesn't even open his eyelids all the way. Fourth, I hope you like seeing Goofy hop into Mickey's arms, because the character made explicitly for slapstick doesn't have anything remotely close to physical humor for the rest of the comic. Fifth, isn't this guy supposed to be pink? You know, from the cover?
This isn't a real dinosaur. Besides, dinosaurs are extinct.
Sorry to play grammar Nazi, Mickey, but that statement didn't need a besides. Also, the terror-stricken Goofy calmly pats the Brontosaurus' nose and asks,
Of course, Mickey. If all the dinosaurs died off, could oil and gas disappear too?
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility? 30 years ago, running out of oil was only a possibility? Either Mickey's seriously deluded, overly optimistic, or blissfully ignorant. Does Mickey back up that statement?
Crude oil and natural gas are non-renewable energy sources. When they're used up, there will be none left.
So to recap, we will run out of oil and gas, but that's just a possibility. Consistency, what's that?
What will we do then?
Geez, Mickey and Goofy use fewer contractions than an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
It's what we must do now, Goofy. We must become energy-wise. First, we can all try to conserve energy. Turn off the lights. We can turn down the heat in our homes and not drive cars faster than 55 miles per hour. That can really save a lot of valuable energy.
Well, I can't argue with the first two, but the not driving over 55 miles per hour? Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna fly on the I-4 through Orlando, where people, at minimum, drive 75 miles an hour. Try going 55 and see how long you survive to actually use oil. Because you'll be dead.
Also, we need to explore for new supplies of crude oil and natural gas.
You mean old Bessie's gonna last me a long time?
When did Mickey insinuate that, Goofy?
Sure, Goofy. Oil can supply your car's energy needs for many years to come.
Great! We can always buy oil from foreign countries too.
Really, guys? Really? Now, I know this was a good 5 years before Bush had a falling out with Saddam Hussein, and that went over pretty poorly, but really? Why bring this up? Is it crucial to children that they learn we can buy crude oil from the Middle East? Are you trying to raise politicians? Because there is no conceivable reason that this should be in here at all.
Sometimes we can't depend on other countries. Since 1973, our foreign oil supply has been cut off twice.
Oh yeah, well I remember how old Bessie had to wait in long lines for gasoline.
And because gasoline was scarce, it became very expensive too.
50 cents, 79 cents, $1.27. Gosh, Mick, that scares me a lot.
Oh, Goofy, you eloquent spinster of the art of wordplay.
Yes, Goofy, but it will help if we can find new sources of oil in our own country.
Just in case those rapscallion folks out in Saudi Arabia or Iraq don't like us or something weird like that.
Oil companies must look in more difficult places, like the Arctic and under the sea.
The Arctic? Brr. Well, I bet they have oil sickles there. Yup, yup. And they eat lots of chili, as in cold.
Stellar, Goof. 2 gags and 1 balloon, and you still haven't made me laugh.
Well, this will warm you up. Come on, we're off to Alaska.
1 obscenely expensive 8-hour flight to the pristine tundra of Alaska, where Mickey waits the whole time to continue his thought.
Experts claim that a lot of our future oil will come from Alaska, either on land or offshore.
It must be a big job drilling for oil here, Mickey.
It sure is. In the winter, it gets as cold as 68 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit.
It's cold and dark.
For 8 weeks in the winter, the folks in northern Alaska never see the sun.
Alaska sure is different. Just look at all these funny little hills.
You know, as riveting as all this dialogue is it weird that all I'm wondering is where Mickey's ears are in these panels?
They're not hills, Goofy. They're insulating pads made with sand or gravel. They protect the land and keep the permafrost from melting due to heat and pressure caused by large moving vehicles and equipment.
Permafrost? What's that?
It's a permanently frozen layer of ice and soil that can be thousands of feet deep.
Wow! Well, I bet no one has to worry about ice cream melting here.
You know, it's becoming increasingly obvious that Goofy is only there to crack jokes and to have someone for Mickey to lecture about the awesomeness of Exxon. Clearly, keeping tabs on these characters' established personalities was pretty low on their list of priorities.
Nope. In the winter, ice covers just about everything around here. Most of the land and some of the water, too.
Hey, Mick, what's that?
It's an artificial island made out of gravel. This artificial island is permanent, and many wells can be drilled from it.
But how can we transport all this oil?
Yes, because few things are more fascinating to Goofy than how oil is moved from point A to point B. Lazy segue number 47. So, Mickey, how is oil brought to the good old contiguous US of A?
An 800-mile-long pipeline was built to carry the oil produced in northern Alaska to the port of Valdez in southern Alaska, where the ocean doesn't freeze. Once the oil gets there, it's loaded onto large tankers and brought down to the rest of the U.S.
Yep, nothing bad ever happened with Exxon that involved the name Valdez, right? Okay, yeah, it was 4 years after this comic was printed, but still.
800 miles? That's a long pipe.
It sure is, and it carries over 1.5 million barrels of oil a day.
Boy, that's amazing. And right from our own country, too.
Yep.
Yes, drink in the regal splendor of one of the most controversial and environmentally damaging constructs and one of the purest landscapes in the world, and right in our own country. All hail Emperor Petroleum, sponsored by Exxon.
But the oil produced here in Alaska isn't our only new source of oil. Hang on. Say goodbye to the Arctic, Goofy. We're going offshore.
Bye-bye.
So, after I assume Mickey abandons the private plane and steals someone's helicopter, minus a single piece of safety equipment...
Wow, what kind of boat is that, Mick?
It's called a drill ship. It explores for oil buried under the seafloor.
Wouldn't it be easier to drill on land?
Sure, but to meet our energy needs, we must explore offshore oil.
After all, what else were we supposed to do with the safety manual from BP? They just gave it to me, said they didn't need it.
How can you tell if there's oil under the sea? I can't even see any fish.
And thus Nemo remains at large.
Scientific instruments are used to find rock formations that might contain oil.
These machines make it look simple.
Funny, people say the same thing about CGI animated movies.
It's not that easy. Even with all this technology, the only way to find oil is to drill for it.
Look at this. The ship has a big hole in it. We're gonna sink.
I think you're right, Goofy. I think I saw Rihanna and Taylor Kitsch on board earlier. You're pretty much done for.
Don't worry, that's called a moon pool.
Of course.
For lunar laps?
And still not funny.
No, Goofy, it's the opening through which the drill pipe is lowered to find the oil. While drilling for oil, this large ship must remain steady. It's held in place by thrusters that act like motors on a motorboat. They can drill for oil in waters over 6,000 feet deep.
Wow, that's over a mile down.
Did we really need that further elaboration?
Because the ship moves with the waves, the pipe connection between the ship and the drill must be flexible.
What happens to the oil once the drill ship finds it?
Once oil has been located, a permanent drilling and production platform is built. We'll fly by one, Goofy. This one is taller than the Empire State Building.
Take her up quick, Mick.
No need. Most of its height, over 1,000 feet, is underwater. This platform is amazing. It weighs more than 59,000 tons and costs $750 million to build.
Gosh, that's expensive.
Not really. That's about 7.5 feet of monorail track these days.
Yep, so oil companies are always developing more efficient ways to find oil.
So they would like you to believe.
Gee, Mickey, now that I know how valuable oil is, I sure hope we never run out.
Me too. Oil is the best fuel for transportation, but we also need other forms of energy too.
Well, I have to give this comic credit. Only 11 pages in out of 16 before they bring up the topic of alternative energy sources. I expected 15. Also, now our friends are just roaming some industrial and residential districts. How far away was that oil platform from shore? I really don't ask for much. Just a little consistency. Is that so hard?
Remember, we also use energy for heat, light, and for industry. Natural gas is used in factories and in our homes for cooking and eating. It's great because it burns so cleanly.
Boy, natural gas must be in big demand.
It is, but like oil, our present supplies are limited.
Hey, as riveting as this all is, remember in Steamboat Willie when Mickey used to yank on cats' tails, squeeze goose necks, kick piglets, and play xylophone on cows' teeth? Could we go back to doing that? It was all uncomfortable to watch, sure, but at least it didn't bore me to death.
George, can we run out of natural gas too?
I'm pretty sure you asked that back on page 4.
We won't anytime soon if we keep exploring for new supplies and using substitutes.
Substitutes?
Take electricity, for example. Like natural gas, it can provide energy for home heating and cooking. Do you know where electricity comes from, Goofy?
Sure, from a socket in the wall.
Your powers of deduction are stunning, Goofster.
Yes, but it comes into your home over wires from a power plant where the electricity is generated.
How do we generate electricity, Mickey? Do we charge it?
No, Goofy, it's generated by mice running on their little wheels. Oops, sorry, Mickey.
Not exactly. Electricity is usually generated by huge turbines that are powered by steam. Steam can be created by burning natural gas, oil, or coal.
But we still need gas for our homes and oil for transportation.
So, you decided to check in on the Seven Dwarfs? I know, it's a coal mine, but where do diamonds come from?
That's right. So more than half our electricity is produced by burning coal. And fortunately, we have more coal than any other nation. 1/3 of the world's supply is in the U.S.
So is that where Santa's been getting his naughty kid stash?
And coal will probably be around for another several hundred years or so. It's really an important energy source today and for the future.
It's obvious at this point that Mickey Mouse has simply ceased to exist and has become a Mickey-shaped bullhorn for Axon. I'm trying to figure out where Mickey's personality went, but to no avail.
Are there any other ways of creating electricity?
We should probably check on Goofy, too. Sheesh, no wonder Disney recruited Bill and Ellen.
There sure are. There's nuclear power. In the future, it can provide endless energy.
Whoa, Mickey. It's not 1954 anymore, buddy. Nuclear energy? Tread carefully.
Today's nuclear fission reactors operate by splitting uranium atoms to create heat. The heat is used to make steam, which drives turbine generators that give us electricity.
I guess it's the current thing. Yup.
Did you know that the city of Chicago gets half its electricity from nuclear power?
Then why wasn't that shown in the Blues Brothers? I would have loved to see Jake and Elwood lead the police through a nuclear power plant.
Wow.
Yes, and experts say that by the year 2000, 1/5 of our nation's electricity may come from nuclear power.
You know what, Mickey? I'm gonna call you on that, seeing as it's now 2015, 15 years after 2000, and 30 years after this comic. I now have the resources to verify this. I mean, how could you possibly predict that, Mickey? How? I bet it's more like 40, 45%, maybe 50. You know what? I'm gonna go to the Energy Information Administration website. Let's just see your incredible powers of foresight. Oh, well, wait. It says here that in 2000, 19.8% of U.S. electricity came from nuclear power. You win this round, Mickey. Sorcerer Mickey, I should say.
In the future, nuclear fusion will allow us to create more energy than we use by combining atoms instead of splitting them apart. It works just like the sun. And there's another way to make electricity that doesn't need fuel, Goofy.
Oh, what's that?
Hydroelectric power. In places where there are natural or man-made dams, electricity is generated by the powerful force of falling water.
Like Niagara Falls.
And researchers are hard at work developing synthetic liquid fuels.
What are those?
They're special fuels that are made from things like rocks.
Look, I know it's a comic and all, and this is kind of a nitpicky thing, but have you ever known anyone who used this relaxed, open palm gesture when explaining something to you?
Huh? Are you joking, Mick?
Nope. Come on, I'll show ya.
Back at the Universe of Energy, because only in the world of comics can the main characters go from Epcot to Alaska in a plane, to an oil platform in a helicopter, walk through an industrial district, and finally back to Epcot. Clearly, Mickey has connections. And money.
Watch out! That rock's on fire!
Ah, the forgotten Katy Perry song. Also, this guy should be wearing gloves.
It's called oil shale. When it's crushed and heated, a type of oil can be collected and made into gasoline and other liquid fuels.
Wow, that's cool. Hot.
I mean, coolly hot, or hotly cool.
Researchers are working on practical ways of converting oil shale into usable liquid fuel or gas. They're combining scientific principles with imagination.
Sounds like it takes another important thing. Money.
Who said... what?
Right you are. Synthetic fuels have great potential, but right now, they cost too much to produce. Another future energy source is something we all look up to. Our sun.
Gee, sounds like a bright idea.
So bright, in fact, that we waited until the very last page and only 3 panels left to explore one of the greatest energy sources available. I noticed wind power's not even uttered. Gotta hurry with that global warming. Busy.
It sure is. Some people are already using solar power to heat their homes and water. Someday, more of us may be able to use solar energy when it becomes more affordable. Here at Epcot Center, solar cells help to partially power the moving theater cars inside the universe of energy.
Boy, Mickey, we sure have a lot to do to prepare for the future.
You bet we do. Meeting our energy needs will require the cooperation of science, industry, government, and us, the consumers. We need to use limited energy sources wisely, like oil and gas, and also find new ones.
You might want to talk to Nick Fury. I hear he found this cool glowy blue cube that's supposedly going to answer all our energy demands and finish our reliance on fossil fuels. Just, if some smooth-talking demigod with horns shows up, just run.
So now that I'm warmed up, I've got plenty of mental energy to learn lots more. Let's go.
Right, there's lots to learn at Exxon's Energy Exchange.
And thus ends our odd little escapade of Mickey and Goofy at the Universe of Energy. I can't in all honesty say that it's a bad comic. It was obviously written as a propaganda piece first, and an entertaining comic starring Mickey and Goofy second. And to be fair, it does what it's set out to do. Educate us about the importance of producing energy to make our lives livable. And even I managed to learn a few things, even as a 20-some-odd-year-old man. But the outdated information and the transparency of Mickey's endorsing for Exxon make it a fun little read. If you want to get your hands on one of these, I'm sure you can find one online somewhere. We got ours at Theme Park Connection in Orlando. Now, the screen caps you've been seeing are from Starport 75, so if you want a better look at these pages without shelling out the money for it, that's the website to check out. The lovely image of Loki and the Tesseract was digitally created by Sheridan J. on DeviantArt. Thanks for listening to today's episode, everyone. I'm Surfer Clock, and this is What's the Attraction, where our work is your vacation. Now, let's close up this comic. What? Who let the tiger loose? Oh, right, Exxon. Put a tiger in your tank, I guess. Or is he running late on his Tigger meet and greet fast pass? I'm overanalyzing this. Oh, and yeah, I'm supposed to be done. Never mind.